What GM CEO just announced is putting Ford and Jeep dealers in full-on panic mode. $118,385 for a freaking Jeep. You know things are really slow at Ford when a brand new Raptor now has a discount of over $6,000. GM recently released their sales numbers, and if you combine the GMC trucks and the Chevy trucks together, they completely blew away Ford in the total number of full-size trucks sold. And it's not just these trucks that are selling like crazy. The Chevy Blazer and the Tahoes are literally flying off the lot, while SUVs from Jeep like the Grand Wagoneer and the Wrangler are just sitting on lots and rotting for months, and Ford Expedition and Explorer sales are down in the toilet. So what the heck is Chevy doing different that has them totally destroying Ford and Jeep in sales? So in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly why GMC and Chevy is totally crushing Ford and Jeep in the sales game right now. And I'm going to start where I usually don't start. Right here at one of the cheapest small SUVs that I could find right now out of any of the domestic brands. This beats the Ford Bronco Sport in price. This beats a lot of the other smaller SUVs. Like, it's close to the Escape, but I think this actually looks better than the Escape. But I think this Chevy is probably a heck of a deal as far as like small SUVs go, and let me show you why. So if we look at this white one right here, the Chevy Trailblazer, first of all, I think as far as small SUVs go, this is just a really, really good design. The styling is not too over the top, but it's slightly aggressive to where it actually looks kind of cool. And as far as price goes, it's not that expensive. This is a 2025 Trailblazer all-wheel drive, which all-wheel drive is pretty nice, especially up here like around Idaho when it snows. All-wheel drive is definitely better than two-wheel drive all day long. As far as interior goes, it does have a little bit of nicer appointments on the dash. It does have a screen, and every car pretty much should come with a screen right now, like even the base models. If it doesn't have a screen, that's just kind of stupid at this point. But it does not have leather. The seats are still cloth. And this little guy is gonna run you, as far as MSRP goes, $29,080. But they do have a tiny, tiny discount. It's not major, but every little bit helps in this market. Pretty much $1,000 off, so you're gonna pay $28,580. And after taxes and stuff out the door, you're probably just slightly over 30, which is not too bad as far as price goes in this market. If you can find any kind of decent SUV for under 30 grand, that's a huge win in my book. Do I think it should be 25? Absolutely yes. Maybe if they sit on the lot a little bit longer, they'll come back down, but 28 is not a bad place to start. But let's say you were shopping around and you were looking between like a Ford Expedition, the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer, or something in the Chevy GMC realm. The interesting part is, if you look at the prices of the Grand Wagoneer, which can be like around 100 grand, which honestly is totally insane for a Jeep. And then you come here and you look at a full-size Suburban, or even a Tahoe, which is just the tried and true Chevy full-size SUV, you're actually gonna spend quite a lot less than that $100,000 price point of the Jeep. Take this ZL1 Suburban, for instance. All blacked out everything, which I think is pretty cool. Nice Goodyear tires, decent wheels. As far as factory wheel goes, they're not terrible. So instead of 100 grand on a Jeep SUV, you can save 20 grand and for this 2024 Suburban four-wheel drive Z71 with the 5.3 liter V8 engine. Now don't get me wrong, this price is still high, but it's 20 grand less than what that Grand Wagoneer would cost you. You're looking at $81,145. And yes, that is still expensive, but if you were cross-shopping in that kind of range, why would you spend 100 grand on a Jeep when you could spend 20 grand less and get the Suburban, which honestly I feel like it looks better anyways, especially all blacked out like this. But of course, you don't have to get a Suburban. You could go a little bit cheaper and get something like this Tahoe. But the funny thing is, it's not that far off from the price of a Suburban. This right here is a 2025 Tahoe with the Z71 package, and it's $75,090. So at that point, you're saving $25,000 over a Grand Wagoneer. Now, obviously, one of the most competitive markets to be in right now is American pickup trucks, or any pickup in general. You've got Chevy, Ford, GMC, Toyota. Nissan's out of the game now as far as full-size trucks go because the Titan's just dead. They killed it. But I think one of the reasons, as far as Chevy goes, and why I think they're really crushing it in sales compared to the Ford F-150, is that some of their trim levels are actually a pretty decent deal as far as brand new cars go. And I found a really good example right here in this row of Chevrolets. And a good example would be this TurboMax Silverado right here, because I found something really interesting. And this is where Chevy is moving as far as like budget engines go. And I think the price reflects that. So this is a 2024 Silverado with their new TurboMax 4-cylinder engine. And this is an interesting find because as far as price goes, it gets pretty competitive because of the discount that they have on this. It's a pretty standard spec on the interior, but it does have 4-wheel drive, and the turbo 4-cylinder is over 300 horsepower, which I think is kind of neat. But this one's interesting because the MSRP is $51,055, but because they're trying to get rid of their 2024 inventory and make room for 2025, this has a $10,000 discount, so you can pick this up for $41,555. And $10,000 off is just insane. As far as Chevy goes and Ford, that's one of the biggest discounts that I've seen. We'll go to Ford here shortly to see how all of these compare, but the biggest discount that I think I've seen so far on an F-150 is like $6-7 grand. It's been like a month or two since I've last been to Ford, so I want to see when we go over to Ford if those discounts are even bigger. But let's say you didn't want that 4-cylinder, but you wanted to step up to a V8 and you still wanted 4 doors. You could get this more like base spec Silverado right here with the Steelies. I don't know about you, but I like Steelies. The MSRP is $51,400, but this one also has a discount, and that discount is almost $8,000. So you could pick up this V8 full-size Chevy with full drive for $43,400. And as far as V8 full-size, 4-wheel drive, 4-door pickup trucks go, I don't know if you're gonna find anything less than that anywhere in this market right now. Okay, but what if you were shopping at the end of the year trying to find some best deals and you wanted a Z71 with a better engine and a little bit nicer interior? Well, as I walked across this row of full-size Z71s, I also found some pretty good freaking deals. Like this black Z71 here, that is also all blacked out, but it does just have the cloth interior, which sometimes I prefer cloth, depending on where you're at, because it is pretty easy to clean, and sometimes my dog slides around on leather. But anyways, the MSRP of this one is $58,145. But again, everything on this row actually has discounts because they're trying to clear out 2024 inventory. So you can get this for $9,000 off at $49,895 for a V8 Z71 Trail Boss. And under 50 grand on a full-size truck is pretty great right now, especially when you can get $9,000 off. Now, like you, do I wish all of these trucks were cheaper? Obviously, if you could get anything cheaper, that's awesome. If it was 38 grand, that would be awesome. But unfortunately, if you've seen any of my other videos, it's just not gonna happen. MSRPs are probably gonna keep climbing up into 2025, but the manufacturers are gonna keep coming up with like rebates and deals and things like that. And if you're trying to grab a truck before the end of the year, before Christmas gets here, whatever, and get a full-size Chevy for like almost $10,000 off, I think that's pretty cool. Now, as I walk around this dealership, I did find something very interesting that I think is not worth the money and insanely overpriced. And that's their new fully electric Silverado with the RST package. This thing is crazy expensive and possibly might go down the same rabbit hole that the Ford Lightning ended up. It was overpriced and just insanely expensive for what you get. Like most people, when they want a truck, they don't want it to die after 100 miles of towing. Walking around all these car dealerships and looking at these insane prices just makes you really hungry. And I've actually got my lunch taken care of thanks to today's sponsor.
And that is Factor. When I'm busy during the day filming stuff, I need a quick and healthy solution when I get hungry. But thanks to Factor, I can eat better and save time. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning with delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. Factor meals arrive pre-prepared and ready to eat in 2 minutes, which is perfect for busy lifestyles. Factor also has this delicious protein cold brew latte that I absolutely love, and I pretty much drank all but this one so far. And it's just the right amount of protein and caffeine that I need to get started in the morning. If you want to try Factor, I highly recommend it. Head to factor75.com or click the link below in the description and use code MOTORFEED50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code MOTORFEED50 at factor75.com to get 50% off of your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders.
But anyways, how expensive is this electric truck? It's $96,495. Double the price of a full-size Z71 or even ZR2 Chevy Silverado with a V8 engine. So don't get this. This is just silly. Grab one of these for half the price. You can't really do as much truck stuff as you think with one of these electric trucks. So I'm about to go to Ford, but I want to make one mental note again, because when I go to Ford, I want to see what the cheapest full-size Ford is that they have. So I want to just do a quick reminder here. After discount, the cheapest V8 full-size Chevy I could find was $43,400. And oddly enough, they have this 4-cylinder one, which Ford doesn't have a 4-cylinder full-size F-150 at this point. But as far as full-size trucks, this one after discount was $41,555. So let's go to Ford and see how they compare with the Chevys, price-wise, discount-wise, and if Ford is better for the money or Chevy. And then we'll hit up Jeep, and I'll show you why they're still the slowest selling brand right now. Also, one quick thing before we move on, they've got a lot of new C8 VATs out, and these things, I love the way they look. As far as the front end goes, Chevy did a really good job on this. This brand new one's 77 grand. Well, that one's 99. Pretty up there for a Corvette. I mean, when you compare it to the previous generation here, these were definitely a better bargain than the new ones as far as MSRP goes. But it's still a good looking car and keeps up with things like Ferrari, McLaren, and Lamborghini for more than half the cost, which I think as far as that goes, Chevy crushed it. Anyways, on to the next stop. Well, I made it to Ford, and I want to start with something that I find pretty interesting. Let me show you something here. For one, they actually have some Ford Mavericks. And for a while, the Ford Maverick has been one of the hardest little pickup trucks to find. But not only do they have some, these are discounted. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So they actually have discounts on the Ford Maverick now. And this is pretty much the first time that I've seen any discounts on the Ford Maverick. Usually they've been really hard to find. They either have markups or they're at MSRP, but never with any discount. So that means you can actually get a nice little truck like this 2024 Maverick for under 30 grand at $28,491. And if you're in the market for like a smaller pickup truck, that's pretty much as cheap as it goes when entering pretty much anywhere in the pickup truck market. 28 grand is like the bottom. You won't even find a new Toyota Tacoma at that low of a price. And something else that's shocking as I'm here at Ford, we're gonna move on to a couple of the SUVs real quick and then go over to the full-size F-150s to see where those are at. But the Bronco here was another vehicle that you could never find on Ford lots at all. And over the last few months, every time I come to a Ford dealership, and specifically this one, there are more and more and more Ford Broncos. Last time I was here, they pretty much just had one row, maybe a row and a half, and that was about probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. But now they have this entire row right here up to those Mavericks, a full row here, and they are stacked with trucks as well too. Look, they can't even park them over there. That's full. They have to park them in front of this row of Broncos. But again, they have even more Broncos. They've got another full row right here and another full row right here. And I actually think in this row, I found the cheapest Ford Bronco, at least new, that I've ever seen. We'll just cut through this row of Broncos and trucks right here. Not this one, not this one, not this one. We'll turn around here because I passed it. But this Bronco right here, Big Ben, soft top, 2024 model, for under $40,000 at $39,905, and that's with a $5,500 dealership discount. And as far as Broncos go, I've never seen one under 40 grand, so this kind of blows my mind a little bit. No, it doesn't have lockers or any of the cool stuff like that, but for an entry-level four-wheel drive Bronco, that's not too bad. Of course, they do get expensive as you go higher up in the trim level. Like once you jump into the Wildtrak Sasquatch, you're looking at a lot more. MSRP of this thing is $68,000, but they do have a $4,500 discount, bringing it to $63,995. A Badlands here at $58,925, an Outer Banks trim level at $54,000 once you apply the $6,000 discount. And pretty much every single Bronco has a pretty good discount on it. I mean, this one right here has an $8,000 discount. And I think if you go through Ford Financial, they actually have pretty decent interest rates. The only difference is you can only finance for like around 3 years on some of those. Now, obviously, I didn't look at any small trucks at GMC or Chevy. I didn't look at any kind of off-roady things like the Bronco, because honestly, the only thing you got is like the Tahoe, and the Bronco is more like competing with the Jeep than a Tahoe. So let's go find something similar real quick. I want to find like the cheaper SUVs and compare it to the smaller little Blazer thingy that I showed you. And then we'll move on to the full-size F-150s. Here's something interesting that I found out. If you're shopping around and you're looking at like an expensive, overpriced $100,000 Grand Wagoneer and you have those deep pockets, here's something you should check out instead. That is the Lincoln Navigator. Because here's the thing, if you're in that deep pockets of thinking about spending $100,000 on a Jeep Grand Wagoneer, don't do that. This Navigator is so much nicer than the Grand Wagoneer and much more comfortable. And they've been building them a lot longer than the Grand Wagoneers. Grand Wagoneers have a lot of little issues that first year stuff kind of ends up having. Now, I'm not saying this is cheap. This 2024 four-wheel drive loaded up Navigator is $110,370. But I'm just telling you, this is a better deal at $100,000 price point than trying to get that Grand Wagoneer. Anyways, check these out, moving on. Okay, as I was walking to the F-150 section, I actually found the cheapest little SUV that I think you can buy at Ford right now. And it gets really close to the price of that little Trailblazer that we saw. This is also the trusty Ford Edge that's kind of been around forever, but is slowly going to be going away, replaced by the Bronco Sport over there. So this might be one of the last year models that you can get one of these. And honestly, the price isn't too crazy only because of the discount. And that's where all of this kind of comes to a head. This is kind of a lower to mid-level spec because it does have all-wheel drive and a screen, but no leather seats. It's got cloth seats. And if you were buying this brand new at MSRP, you're looking at almost $40,000. But because sales are slow and it's the end of the year and they're trying to get rid of stuff, the discount on this is really crazy. Between the dealership discount of $5,700 and the factory rebate of $5,000, you get $10,750 off of this thing, bringing it to $29,210, which I find interesting that it takes a $10,000 discount to bring it to the same level as that Trailblazer that had just a slightly smaller discount, but not near $10,000. That's just kind of crazy prices on that Ford Edge. And as the Ford Edge kind of goes down the toilet and is replaced by the Bronco Sport, what kind of prices are these Bronco Sports running? Now remember, that Ford Edge all-wheel drive, kind of basic interior, no leather or anything, was almost $40,000 on the MSRP. And if you look here at this Bronco with the Outer Banks trim, and it actually does have leather seats and honestly a nicer interior than the Ford Edge, you can see why Ford is phasing out that Edge, because the Bronco Sport becomes a better bargain. So the MSRP is right around the same at $38,140 because this is like a newer vehicle and it's the Bronco Sport, you know, not the big Bronco. You still get $4,600 off, bringing it to $33,495. When people are shopping between like a new Edge and a Ford Bronco Sport, I think honestly they've probably been choosing the Sport just about every time because it wouldn't make sense to go the other route, especially if for around the same price as a Ford Edge over there, you can just get a Bronco Sport, which is honestly better. Or if you wanted to find one even cheaper, this Bronco Sport right here with cloth seats, so a little trim level, you can get for $27,995 after a $4,600 discount. So pretty much every small SUV that I'm looking at here and every vehicle on this lot that I have seen, other than that Lincoln so far, has a pretty good discount. But what about the trucks? What are we looking at here with the trucks, and how do they compare with the pricing of the Chevy? And this is where the prices get, I think, kind of interesting. And we're going to start with one of the lower trim levels because we're trying to find like the cheapest one that I can find compared to Chevy. And so far it's this STX trim level. Now I'm not really sure if this is the twin turbo V6 or the V8 engine because I can't find the window sticker on it, but the MSRP is $52,640. and you have almost $10,000 off, $9,145, bringing it to $43,495. Now, those kind of prices, bringing it down by 10 grand, is pretty much where, honestly, the MSRPs should have been to begin with. I feel like they would have sold way more trucks if they didn't just go crazy with the MSRPs. The same is happening at Chevy. You saw some of them with $10,000 off at Chevy just so they can get rid of all this inventory that they have. So I do think the CEOs of these companies just kind of lost touch with most of the American buyers, at least the average buyer, that was looking for a somewhat affordable full-size pickup truck. And they ran crazy with these MSRPs, and now all of this excess inventory is just proof of that. and they're having to just bite the bullet. Now I'm trying to look at this row of all the Fords that I can see right here, and I'm trying to see if I can find one under $40,000. That's the challenge I'm doing to myself right now. 52, 44, 42. So far that is the lowest, 42 right here. Takes $9,100 of a discount to get it there, but I don't think I'm gonna find one under 42. As far as this row goes, 47, 54. I don't really have any luck. I did find this Bronco Sport for $27,995, about $4,500 off. So there are a lot of discounts to be had. And if you're looking to save some money at the end of the year and you want to buy a truck, I guess now's the time. Now, obviously, everything goes up from there. You got this trimmer here with an MSRP of $67,000, and this is a 3.5 liter EcoBoost and a 2024 model. So they still have a lot of 2024s on the lot, and they're not gonna be able to have room for the 25s until they get rid of all of these 2024 model trucks. There's just no room for the next year model. But what about the Expedition? I mentioned when I was at Chevy and we were looking at the Z71, how those compare to the Expedition. We got some Expeditions right here as we go through these F-150s. And this is actually the most Expeditions that I've ever seen at this. Usually I see like 5, maybe 6, but this is way more than that. And honestly, this is the first time in any of my videos I've looked at Expeditions. So let's see how low they go and how high they go. These discount stickers actually make it easy to go across the row. All right, I think this is as low as it gets for the Expedition right here. Let's see what this is about. 2024. EcoBoost V6, it's in just about everything now. Whew, MSRP is super high, $73,215. And they went crazy on the MSRPs of these big SUVs too. So $61,995. And obviously, like everything else on here, they do have a discount, and this is the highest discount that I've seen so far. Like literally anywhere. Other than Ram with the old diesel trucks, they had like 20 grand off, but anyways, they have $11,220 off of this thing, bringing it to $61,995. $11,000 off. That's insane. Oh, this discount gets even higher. $12,015 off of an $84,510 MSRP. $84,000 for a Ford Expedition. That's freaking nuts. But hey, at least it's four-wheel drive. 84K. Oh my, we're getting higher at 76 right here. It is a platinum trim level, and that's one of the highest trim levels I think you can get. Pretty much same 4x4 EcoBoost, fancy leather trim dash. $88,000 MSRP on this thing. $88,000. Now I can see why the Suburban becomes a pretty good bargain compared to this. Again, with the discount of almost $12,000, bring it to $76,495. And I still think these are gonna be here for a while at that price. These prices are nuts. I can see why Chevy's been selling a lot of their SUVs. Here's something funny as I was walking down this row. Here's a Mustang, and they put insert crowd here on the front bumper. If you know any of the Mustang memes, you'll know why that's appropriate. But also it's sitting next to this brand new Ford Raptor Bronco. And funny thing about these Raptor Broncos, just like the other normal Broncos, you couldn't find these for a long time. They were marked up. They were leaving the lots like that, but now they're just kind of sitting around. The MSRP on this thing is $98,145. Because it's sitting around, they have a discount. $4,150, bringing it to $93,995. That's really hard to justify for any kind of vehicle, especially a Raptor Bronco. And I think one of the critical mistakes that Ford did, there's no V8. They should have put a V8 in the Raptor. I don't understand it. Maybe their plans are a Bronco Raptor R, but then that brings it from like 90-something thousand. They're gonna be like $120,000 for a Bronco, and that's just insane. But now we have to go to the worst offender when it comes to how fast they went up on this MSRP, and that's gonna be Jeep. All right, I finally made it here to Ram, and this is by far the best deal on a full-size pickup truck that I have probably seen in the last year and a half of me doing this whole YouTube thing. This is just like the base level tradesman work truck. Just steel wheels, black plastic, everything. However, it does have the Hemi e-torque engine. So you get all the nice V8 noises. You got a full truck bed and a pretty decent interior with leather seats. They have a crazy discount on this thing. Probably the best price on a full-size truck that I've seen in any of the videos I've ever done. Now, the MSRP of this is $44,460, and that's not shocking. That's been the price on these for a long time. However, they're getting rid of these models and they won't really have them very much anymore come 2025. Now the discount is not on the window, but it is on the website and it's huge. You get $5,424 off from the dealer, and then you also get cash back of $6,669 all the way through December 2nd of this year. That brings this truck down to $31,867 if you're a first responder as well. Otherwise, $32,367. $32,367 for a full-size pickup truck with a V8 engine is entirely unheard of in the truck market today. And yet, here it is right now for that selling price. Of course, it's not four-wheel drive, but that is the best bargain on a full-size pickup truck that I have ever seen. And while we're here, I actually want to make a note of something. I talked to the sales guy and he said they've just been discounting everything. And this is actually the least amount of vehicles, the least amount of Jeeps, least amount of Ram trucks that I have seen at this dealership. They have so little inventory now that they are having to park them sideways. I mean, they used to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this row. Now they only have 2. And basically every row is parked sideways, as you can see here, and then all the way over there. And I think because they have these discounts like $10,000, $12,000 off or more on the trucks, they're finally getting them out the door. And maybe Ram and Jeep are gonna make a comeback. I don't know, let's keep looking here, because obviously they're trying to dump the cheaper trucks, but what about something more expensive like the Rebel here, which is honestly one of my favorite trim levels of Ram trucks. I think it's the best bang for the buck as far as what you get for the money. Okay, I couldn't find any discount information on this most expensive Rebel here, but I did find a discount on this Ram Rebel right here. For starters, its MSRP is lower. It's around $70,000. And it's also a 2025 model. But this one, $70,000 starting MSRP. However, like the other truck, they do have a significant discount. There's a $7,600 dealer discount, a $4,000 customer rebate discount, bringing it down to $59,290. So around $11,600 off of this new Rebel right here, which is in line with some of the discounts that Ford has and that Chevy has as well. So it looks like they're all pretty close to being the same on the amount of discounts. They're all around $7,000 up to $12,000 like you saw at Ford. So I would say if you're like walking around and you're looking at trying to get one of these closeout end of the year deals, just think in mind that like on average, it's probably around 10 grand less than what I'm looking at on the sticker. If any of the dealerships in your area, depending on where you are, like don't have any discounts in the window, just go in and check. But obviously we started this video with the SUVs and I talked about the Grand Wagoneer. But as I walked through this lot, I finally found where the Grand Wagoneers are. We got 4 new ones all lined up right here, a couple used ones right there. By the look of things and just the wheels in general, this one, not that one, or that one right there, this one's probably gonna be the most expensive MSRP. Let's take a look and see if it's worth it to buy a Grand Wagoneer or you should grab a Suburban. This is the most expensive Grand Wagoneer that I've seen so far. I almost crapped my pants. This is a 2024 Wagoneer L Series 3 4x4, $118,385 for a freaking Jeep. That's nuts. That's why I said maybe you should probably look at that Lincoln, because it's probably 10 times nicer than that Wagoneer. $118,000 for this thing. That's insanity. So as you can see, like I said in the beginning of the video, the Wagoneers are just insanely expensive, and I never thought I would see almost $120,000 for this thing. This is not a Porsche, it's not a Mercedes, it's definitely not an Audi, it's a Jeep, and that pricing and MSRP is just way, way, way too high. But at the end of the day, as you can see, Ram is selling a lot of the vehicles that they've been stuck with for a while. The Jeeps have cleared out so much that they're all sideways. This used to be 2 rows of Wranglers. The Gladiators are cleared out. All the Ram trucks are parked out sideways with like huge discounts, making this like 30 grand. Now with all that said, which brand out of the big 3 do you think with the discounts would be worth buying, if any of these are worth buying at all? But clearly there are people out there buying these and a lot of them are being sold. So what do you think? Do you think Chevy's the best deal, Ford's the best deal, or do you think Ram and Jeep are finally getting down to a price with these discounts where it actually makes sense? If you made it this far in the video, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.